Mitch Marner has never lost a game to the Toronto Maple Leafs. What's up? This is Technically Correct with Tyler Bischoff. On today's show, the Golden Knights had a big comeback win to beat Toronto, all for Mitch Marner. Plus, UNLV has an awesome game to kick off next season, and the NFL playoffs are back. Thanks to Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Las Vegas, for sponsoring the show. Here we go. The Golden Knights beat the Maple Leafs in overtime in Mitch Marner's first game against Toronto since the Leafs traded him to Vegas. Golden Knights trailed for almost that entire game. They tied it with 7 seconds left to get to overtime, but they basically trailed by 2 goals, scored a goal to get back within 1 over and over and over until they finally tied the game at the very end to get to overtime. But the focus is Mitch Marner. He wants out of Toronto in the offseason. He ultimately gets traded out of Toronto a couple of days before free agency because Kelly McCrimmon had to avoid getting charged with tampering. But he ends up in Vegas. Maple Leafs fans don't like him anymore. Maple Leafs media don't like him anymore. And so we got Mitch Marner's first game against Toronto. And the Golden Knights won. But honestly, disappointing from an entertainment standpoint, right? Like, I was hoping that Mitch Marner would either have the best game he's ever played or the worst game he's ever played. And then when they play Toronto in like a week or so, do the exact opposite, right? But instead, like, Mitch Marner was okay, right? He had 2 power play assists, right? One of them, terrific pass. We're going to get into the power play goal a little bit later. Terrific pass from Marner. The other one was a shot that got blocked and just bounced directly to Pavel Dorofeyev, who scored. It wasn't really this great assist from Mitch Marner. And at 5-on-5, I mean, kind of a non-factor. When he was on the ice at 5-on-5, the scoring chances were 4-2 in favor of Toronto. The Golden Knights didn't score. Toronto did score once when Marner was on the ice at 5-on-5, but it was because Ben Hutton misplayed a puck in the neutral zone and it led to a 2-on-1, right? He started the game. He had a shot on goal on his first shift, I should say. And that was kind of it for 5-on-5 theatrics or really anything interesting happening. It was kind of a boring performance, which is probably what Mitch Marner wants, a boring performance where he gets 2 points and his team wins, but not as much fun to yell about. What was interesting is that Mitch Marner got booed at home. This game was in Vegas. There were enough Leafs fans in the building to make the booing noticeable. And we got a full segment of the game where ESPN just turned up the crowd mics and just let us hear the booing when Mitch Marner touched the puck. Which means January 23rd, when these 2 teams play in Toronto, Toronto fans, I don't know, it's going to be fun. It's going to be bad. I don't know. It's going to be a bad reaction. I wish the NHL had scheduled these games opposite the first Marner Maple Leafs game in Toronto. I feel like that would have been better. But instead, we kind of got this preseason type of fan response to Mitch Marner, and now it's going to be the second game. I don't know. Not great. Also, from the fan perspective, oh yeah, this has got to be one of the most brutal things that can happen as a fan. Pavel Dorofeyev scores a game-tying goal and a hat trick, and then it gets ruled out for offside. You throw your hat on the ice, and it's not even an actual hat trick. Oh, that's a nightmare. There weren't that many hats thrown on the ice. It was kind of a sad hat trick performance from the Golden Knights fans, but that's got to be the worst way to lose your hat. It's already bad you got to lose it to throw it on the ice for a hat trick, but you do it and the goal gets ruled out. What a disaster. But even a bigger disaster is the goal gets called out for offside, and ESPN just didn't show us a good replay. Like this, we're reviewing this. It's a game-tying goal in the final 5 minutes, and it gets called off because it was offside. And ESPN shows us one angle. It's a terrible angle. You can't even see the puck in the angle. And it's like, oh yeah, offside. Eventually, 3 minutes of game time goes by. We get another angle that does show that it's offside, and Noah Hannafin had the puck kind of knocked away from him, and Dorofeyev was offside. But it took him 3 minutes to show us that. Hey, get it together, ESPN. Now, more importantly for the Golden Knights, because this isn't just about Mitch Marner playing his former team here in Vegas as much as it is in Toronto. But the Golden Knights have now won 6 straight games. Longest winning streak of the season. They're now up to 23, 11, and 12. They're finally winning overtime games, right? Their last 3 games that have gone to overtime, they've won. First time they can say that. And this is a team that's played the most overtime games in all of hockey. They're now 7-12 when they go past regulation. If you're doing the math, that means they were 4-12 at one point when they went past regulation, which is unbelievably bad. But they lead the Pacific, and it's a very healthy lead now. 4 points on Edmonton. There are a couple of games in hand for Vegas, so that could be bigger. But looking past Edmonton, it's now 7 points on Seattle and San Jose and 9 on LA. Those aren't the biggest leads. Those aren't insurmountable. And I know we've still got, 35 games left or something like that in the season. I'm not here to tell you that, like, oh yeah, they're fine, it doesn't matter anymore, but they should be able to cruise, right? Like, they can withstand another 5-game losing streak. They could lose 5 in a row, and maybe Edmonton gets them, but other than that, they're not going to be passed by anybody else. We go back like 10 days ago, and this team was looking around saying, oh my God, everybody's within 3 points of us, right? And it was like, if they don't start winning some games, the Golden Knights could fall behind not just Edmonton, but some of these other teams in the Pacific. But they've won 6 straight, and they've got a healthy lead. They should be in really good shape. There shouldn't be much to worry about from a playoff chase. Maybe Edmonton challenges for the 1 seed in the Pacific. How important is that going to be? We'll see, right? Like, it's after Vegas and Edmonton, the rest of the teams, whoever gets the 3 in the Pacific versus the 2 wildcard spots, they're all probably going to be similar caliber teams. Does it end up being Seattle, Utah, San Jose? Does LA find a way in? Is it Nashville? Does Anaheim get it back together? Like, all those teams, none of them seem that threatening. So if you're the 1, the 2, you're really just talking about, do you get 1 extra home game in round 2 as opposed to having to go on the road because you're the 2 seed. So the Golden Knights finally winning some games, and importantly, winning games in overtime. Important because they keep going over. It's not most overtime losses they've ever had. It's not yet the most overtime games they've played. They're at 19. I believe the team record is 22 for most overtime games played. So they're probably going to get there. They're probably going to get there in like the next 3 games. But they go to overtime a lot. So they need to win games in overtime, and they finally are doing it. In overtime, Jack Eichel's winner. We got to see basically a shootout move in overtime, which was great. Eichel is tremendous play, but you get the 2-on-2. Nothing really goes well for Vegas, but Mark Stone retains possession, and Eichel comes skating down with nobody around him. Easy pass from Stone, and now he's just all alone. Skates right into the crease, just like a shootout, and scores. What happened to Austin Matthews on that play? Because it was a 2-on-2, and then Eichel and Matthews were behind the net when that 2-on-2 breakout kind of started, and Eichel just beats him down the edge. Matthews isn't even close. Was Matthews in the the defensive zone when Eichel scored? Because he was basically at the blue line. He just kind of gave up on that play. He got tired. Is that what that was at the end of the day? Not great from Austin Matthews. Maybe the Leafs should run him out of town like they ran out Mitch Marner. But we do need to talk about Adin Hill, because this was Mitch Marner's first game against the Maple Leafs. It's 6 straight wins for the Golden Knights. But maybe the biggest story for Vegas is that Adin Hill's back. Hasn't played since October 20th because of an injury. The Golden Knights, with Carter Hart being hurt, don't have really anything resembling a number 1 goalie or a guy they want to be the number 1 goalie, which was Carter Hart, despite how bad he was playing. So Adin Hill coming back is a big deal, because there's at least the hope that Adin Hill will be that number 1 goalie. But he was bad last night. 5 Toronto goals. Toronto had 1.98 expected goals. They did not get to 2 expected goals last night. And he gave up 5. An 821 save percentage. You go to the first goal he allowed? There were some defensive problems. Kolasar was not good on the boards. Hurdle had a bad play sort of right in the slot there, and it left who was that? Morgan Riley wide open on the weak side. But Morgan Riley had time to receive the pass, look at it, take 5 seconds, and then shoot. And Adin Hill still did not make it across the crease from post to post in time. Extremely slow. First game back from injury. How much does that performance worry you? Probably shouldn't be a lot, because it's the first game back from injury. But his first 5 games of the season, he wasn't all that good either. He's got an .872 save percentage on the year. I'd put it to you this way. We haven't seen Adin Hill play well this season. 6 games, so it's not a lot, but we haven't seen him play well this season. We've seen him play well in the past. We've seen him be the best goalie in a postseason run, and they win the Stanley Cup. So we know that Adin Hill can be good, but we haven't seen it this season. And he's coming back from an injury that held him out for months. So there is a little bit of concern, I think, a little bit of, how good is Adin Hill going to be, and is this a number one goalie? And it further complicates like the issue of what the Golden Knights do at the trade deadline, because Carter Hart's hurt. Akira Schmid is a backup goalie. Carl Lindbaum's an AHL goalie. He's an AHL All-Star. If I told you right now, if we knew for a fact that Adin Hill was going to be a below-average goaltender, and that Carter Hart was either injured and out for the rest of the year, or he was also going to be a below-average goaltender, like he has been so far, the Golden Knights would trade for a goalie. That's an obvious thing, because you're not winning the Stanley Cup with the goalie performances they've gotten this season. They're like 27th in the league in save percentage. But we don't know the status of Carter Hart, and he might play better than he did in, 10 starts before he got injured. And I think the expectation is that that Adin Hill is going to play better than this. Better be better than this. So it's kind of this hard thing where, what do you know about your goaltending situation right now? Because you don't know that it's bad. It has been bad, but you don't know that it's bad. And if you know it's bad, you go make a move. But if you don't know it's going to be bad, do you trade for another goalie and complicate that position even more? Adin Hill's in the first year of his contract. Like, it's just a weird scenario. Emily Kaplan on, the intermission show on ESPN last night, she mentioned the thought that Vegas could go after a goaltender. So I don't know what you do. I don't know exactly what that plan should be. The goaltending hasn't been good enough so far. You're hoping that Adin Hill shows a lot more between now and the trade deadline to make you confident that, hey, this is the guy and we will be just fine. The guy who is just fine, better than fine, it's Mark Stone, because, of course, he scored again. He has 17 goals this season. He's played in 30 games. He had, to put that into context for Mark Stone, he had 19 goals last year in 66 games. His previous 3 years from that, it was 9, 17, and 16 were his goals scored. Now, those were the 3 LTIR years where he missed at least 20 games in every season. One of those he played less than 10, less than 20. But this is not who Mark Stone is. He is not a guy who rips off these goals, and he's got 17 and 30. His shooting percentage is now 23%. It's 29.99. The team record for a single season shooting percentage is William Karlsson at 23.4. That was year one when Karlsson scored 43 goals. That's the kind of season Stone is having. Not as much in the total because he missed some time because of injury, but that's the type of season he's having. It's very similar to what Karlsson was doing goal scoring wise for Vegas in year one. He's on an incredible run. Even the goal he scored last night was not some amazing goal. It was just a loose puck that ended up with Wall like somehow behind the net, behind the goal line, and Stone eventually jammed one in and they scored. So incredible run from Mark Stone. I told you yesterday the regression is going to start at some point, but not yet, because he was 1 goal on 4 shots last night. Shooting percentage went up a little bit. Also from this game, an important lineup decision from Bruce Cassidy. We saw Colton Sissons scratched, and Tanner Laczynski came up from Henderson and played as the 4th line center. So one of the important questions here is Tanner Laczynski any good? Because the depth or the lack of depth, talked about it a little bit on here with this roster, is a problem for Vegas. And we've seen it because of injuries. Mitch Marner is playing out of position at center. He's now been doing it for a couple of weeks, right? But Karlsson's out and Brett Howden are out. Those are 2 of your centers. But not only have the injuries caused some issues, Colton Sissons, who's been the 4th line center, hasn't been any good. And that's why we see Tanner Laczynski get a shot here. He played in 8 games for Vegas last year, but this is not like a obvious option to come up and play center for a team that thinks they should be winning the Stanley Cup. And all this is about the depth of the team and the lack thereof, and how good does the bottom of the roster need to be to win the Stanley Cup. Golden Knights, when they won the Stanley Cup, the bottom of the roster was awesome. This year, it's not. And this is the roster decision, the balance or lack of balance that Kelly McCrimmon went with, because we can trace this all back to the Mitch Marner trade or the Mitch Marner acquisition, right? Obviously, they traded Nick Waugh away, right? That would have been a better center than Colton Sissons. But before getting Marner, the Golden Knights cleared cap space by trading Nick Hague to Nashville, getting Colton Sissons and Jeremy Lauzon back from Nashville. There was some retained salary in there by Nashville as well. Golden Knights had to send him a draft pick for that. Like, the Golden Knights lost that trade. That was if you just looked at that straight up, that's a terrible trade. Nick Hague for those two players and you sent a pick is horrendous, right? Because the best player in that trade is Nick Hague, and you gave up a pick to get rid of him. But it's the Golden Knights' classic trade of losing a trade to create cap space. Whatever. But that got them or helped them to get Mitch Marner. And what it means is, instead of having Hague and Waugh as depth pieces, you have Lauzon and Sissons. Lauzon might be the worst player on the team, and Sissons has been bad enough that he's getting benched for Leschinski. But is that a good payoff? Is Marner good enough to make that worthwhile, right? So far, I'd say no, right? Because the other part of it is, if you didn't trade for Marner, you kept Hague and you kept Waugh, you would have had another, I think it's like $8 million, maybe $7 million or so, to go and spend on another player or two more players or three more players, whatever you want to do, to help the depth. But is the trade-off worth it to have the high-end talent of Marner and the worse depth that the Golden Knights have? Again, this is going to be played out in the postseason. What happens in the regular season, not all that important overall, but is that a smart move? I don't think that it is, but we'll see what exactly the Golden Knights do in the postseason and what Marner does in the postseason, and how much they play their fourth line or their third pair, if Cassidy even trusts Lauzon, Sissons, or whoever it actually is, Leschinski, whoever it is. Last thing on this, because I did want to talk about the power play goal, the first power play goal from Pavel Dorofeyev. By the way, he has 13 power play goals, which is one off the team record for a season. He's got to score two more, and I think he can do that. But the power play goal, the first power play goal from Dorofeyev, we saw, again, Toronto take away the pass from Stone across the crease to Dorofeyev, right? That's the number one way the Golden Knights score and create offense on the power play. It's the number one thing teams are trying to take away. So how do the Golden Knights score in other ways? This one I thought was interesting because it was still getting the one-timer from Dorofeyev, just from a different pass. And what we saw was Jack Eichel hold the puck and then send the puck back to the point, and Mitch Marner make an unbelievable pass. I mean, the quickest pass you can possibly make to redirect it over to Dorofeyev, and it was a perfectly placed pass for Dorofeyev to rip a one-timer. So they still got the one-timer from Dorofeyev, the thing that he's really good at. Like, awesome at it. So good that he doesn't have to do anything at 5-on-5, and he's still a no-doubt player in the lineup because of how good that one-timer is on the power play. They found another avenue to get that pass to him. Now, is that as reliable as the Stone play? Probably not, because that pass that he pulled off was really difficult, but incredible work overall by Mitch Marner there, and to create that goal, to create that opportunity for Pavel Dorofeyev, who is going to set the team record for power play goals in a season. But the Golden Knights won. Very fun game against Toronto. 6 straight. They are in really good shape. Coming up next, it's Bischoff's Briefs.
Battle Blast, been serving Las Vegas since June 2012 with the very best in family entertainment. We are proud to provide the best facility, equipment, and service possible. Strap on laser tag vests, step into the 5,600 square foot 2-story arena designed to look like a worn-torn city street. An exciting atmosphere filled with exhilarating music, blacklight effects, and fog. Battle Blast also features a viewing deck for those not playing can watch players vest up and catch a view of the action going on in the arena. In between games, check out our arcade and prize center and enjoy tasty treats from our snack bar. Birthday parties, sports teams, group outings, and corporate events. Battle Blast does it all. We want to make your Battle Blast experience so good you'll want to return again and again. Battle Blast is the ultimate destination for family fun and friendly competition.
Bischoff's Briefs is brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. Battle Blast is the best spot, the perfect spot for your next event. Whatever it is, birthday parties are great there. If you want to have a corporate event, Battle Blast Las Vegas is where to go. Whatever it is you're doing, Battle Blast Las Vegas can be a good place to celebrate. Do it for your own birthday. Get your friends and family together. Who's going to be better at laser tag? They've got arcade and prizes. There's more than just laser tag at Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue, your next stop for fun in Las Vegas. The Runnin' Rebels take on San Jose State this weekend, one of the worst teams in the Mountain West. San Jose State's 1-5 in conference play. They did beat Air Force, who is horrendous. Air Force might be going 0-20 in the Mountain West this year. I think UNLV is going to smack San Jose State, and I got one stat for you. Going to be a KenPom nerd for just a second, but KenPom has a new stat this year. It's exciting, but it's average 2-point field goal distance. So basically, how far away from the basket are your 2-point shots? Are you getting layups or are you getting mid-range jumpers? Offensively, UNLV is above average this year. They're getting their shots, their 2-point shots, within 5.7 feet of the rim. The national average is 6 feet. UNLV ranks 135th in the country in terms of how close to the rim they shoot on 2-pointers. So above average at it. And we all know UNLV can't shoot threes. This is a very, very bad shooting team. So their offense is a lot better when they get to the rim. Lots of dunks, lots of layups is very, very good for this offense. Well, San Jose State gives up all of the dunks and layups. San Jose State ranks 361st in the country when it comes to opponents' 2-point field goal distance. Only 4 teams give up shots closer to the rim on average. They're also last in the Mountain West. So San Jose State is giving up a lot of shots at the rim. If UNLV gets to the rim a lot, they should have a good offensive day. Surprisingly, San Jose State doesn't foul a lot. So maybe they just don't really contest the layups. They just give them up. We'll see. But they don't actually foul a lot. UNLV, we've talked about this. They go to the line all the time. They also send their opponents to the line all the time. It's kind of insane how often there are free throws in UNLV games. But San Jose State is not a team that fouls very much. So we'll see how that plays out. Maybe UNLV gets some sort of free, uncontested layups in the half court just because San Jose State's not aggressive at defending the rim. So the other part, San Jose State, they shoot okay from 3. They're not a great 3-point shooting team, but they're fine. They hit 11 threes against New Mexico. They hit 10 threes against Utah State. Now, they lost both of those games, but I do think like UNLV losing, I feel like would include San Jose State hits 12 threes and UNLV makes 2 or something like that. And like there's a 30-point gap in 3-point shooting. And that's hard to overcome even with a bunch of layups and dunks. I think UNLV wins. San Jose State's not really hitting a bunch of those threes all the time. It's just sort of sporadic. And even when they did, they still got blown out by 10 or more points. So that's probably the way San Jose State wins this game. But I do think UNLV wins. I think we're going to see a lot of like this feels like a Tyron Jones, Kamani Hamilton, and maybe Dre Gibbs Lawhorn game where 2 of those guys, maybe all 3, have big games just because they're able to get to the rim and get a lot of layups and dunks. The Golden Knights host the Predators on Saturday. Nashville's in the wild card hunt, by the way. There's a bunch of teams that are kind of like 4 to 5 points or within 4 to 5 points of the final spot in the wild card, even closer in the East, by the way, which Nashville's a good question for this. Are you a seller at the trade deadline if you're in that spot? Like if we come out of the Olympic break and if you're Nashville and you're 4 points out of the last wild card spot, I mean, that's 2 wins. Are you selling or are you buying because, hey, we just need to improve a little bit and we can be in the playoffs? Are you maybe just standing pat and saying, ugh, don't want to buy and miss the playoffs, so let's just not sell and see if we can get in? I think if you're one of those teams, you probably should be a seller, especially in the West, because like Nashville is an example. If they sneak into the playoffs as the final wild card team, are you beating Colorado in the first round? And even if you do, are you beating Dallas? Like it just feels like you're not going to have any real chance at getting to the Stanley Cup, even out of the second round. So like, should you be going for it? I feel like if you're one of those teams and the other teams around you are not selling, that means there's fewer sellers and you might be able to get a better price for a player than you normally would have. So we'll see how this plays out, see how many teams fall off and stay in the hunt. But there's a chance there's just not many sellers at the trade deadline this year. And somebody like Nashville might have to make the choice. Do we want to sell? Even though, I mean, you might even be in a wild card spot at the deadline and still decide to sell. Also disappointing, Jonathan Marchessault is on IR. So we don't get to see him against Vegas again, which is brutal. Like to watch him play, and specifically would be fun to see him play against the Golden Knights. Also in hockey, the U.S. hockey games at the Olympics are going to be easy to watch. Kind of. So the group stage games, NBC announced yesterday, all of the women's games, all of the men's group stage games will be on USA Network. They're also going to do encore presentations a little bit later in the day. The timing of these games, the women's games, they'll have some 7:40, 11:40, and 11:10 a.m. Pacific time. So not the worst, could be worse. There are earlier time slots, like a 3 a.m. time slot for us. All three of the men's group stage games are at 12:10 p.m. So right at noon. Sucks if you're working, but again, there's not going to be games at night when you get home. That's what the encore presentations are for. But the group games at I'd say a watchable time for people in the United States. However, the men's gold medal game is at 5:10 a.m. on a Sunday, which I guess is better than being on a weekday. But 5:10 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday, I think it's February 22nd. That's the gold medal men's hockey game. 5 a.m. Pacific time? What are we doing? It's almost certainly going to be the United States and Canada. Canada's got the same time zones as us. Why is this not later in the day? They do a good job with setting the time zones for the group stage games, right? Like they could have given the U.S. games that started at 3 a.m. Pacific time. That would have been a nightmare. They do a good job giving them watchable hours for the group games, but then the gold medal game is going to be at 5. What a nightmare. The women's is on a Thursday at 10 a.m., which is still not great, but a lot better than what it could be. So I don't know. I'm annoyed at that. I'm annoyed at this whole, hey, watch some U.S. hockey, but if they get to the gold medal game, you're got to get up at 5 a.m. on Sunday. Go to hell. Also in the NFL, Pete Carroll, at least according to Jalen Milroe's season on Twitter, Pete Carroll is going to be at the Seahawks playoff game this weekend. He's going to raise the 12th man flag. Do you think the Raiders will invite him back to light the torch before a game? Does one season where you got the first overall pick? I think they should. Listen, when Fernando Mendoza wins an MVP, Pete Carroll should be there to light the torch afterwards. He's the reason they might have it. But NFL playoff games this weekend, I've said it before. I'm excited about the playoffs just because I don't feel like I have a good grasp on who's good or who we should be expecting to win these games. So Seattle's hosting San Francisco and Chicago's hosting LA on the NFC side. Do you believe Seattle's the best team? They're the favorites, right? But can they win with Sam Darnold at quarterback? Because that would be pretty stunning to do that, and would almost make me rethink how I evaluate what you should do at the quarterback position. Because I'm somebody who would never sign a Sam Darnold type quarterback, Geno Smith type quarterback, right? And those are two extreme opposites. But I would not be interested in having, hey, let's go sign the guy who's the 15th best quarterback in football and hope that we can coach him up to where he's the 8th best quarterback in football. I would not want that quarterback, right? I want to be always searching for, give me the best, and if I don't have the best, I want to tank, right? That middle class of the quarterback, I've never been interested in. But Seattle might win the Super Bowl by signing one this offseason. That's kind of insane. And by the way, to make it even more insane, Darnold and Geno Smith signed basically the same contract this offseason. And the Raiders give him a 3rd-round pick to get Geno, so he was technically more expensive in that regard. But this is something that from a quarterback building or quarterback roster standpoint, I would never be interested in doing, and Seattle might win the Super Bowl because of it. Also, are the Bears any good? Are they win the Super Bowl good? Because I feel like this is the Commanders from last season, where they're good, the quarterback plays good, the offense is good, Ben Johnson appears to be awesome, but not Super Bowl good. And they're fun, but they can't win the championship. And I feel like we might see that against the Rams, where even though the Rams are not always dominating or whatever, the Rams to me feel like the best overall team. I don't know. It just feels like the Bears are good, but not Super Bowl good, similar to Washington last year. On the AFC side, I do find it funny that one of New England or Houston's going to be playing in the AFC title game, right? I'm not even convinced either one of these two teams is actually that good, but one of them is going to be one of the Final Four teams and have a real shot at the Super Bowl. Also funny that New England, easiest path to a Super Bowl, right? they get Houston instead of Buffalo. And they got the Chargers who were beat up. And it's just like the easiest path outside of having a bye that you could have. And then Denver and Buffalo. I want Buffalo to win. I just feel like Buffalo and the Rams feel like the most fun teams to watch. Chicago's in there as well. It's just like fun teams to watch, whereas Denver's just a nightmare to watch because the quarterback's not good for 75% of the game, but the defense is awesome. I don't know. I feel confident this is a close game, though. Denver only plays close games, so I feel confident on that one. And then, last thing here in Bischoff's Briefs, the Euro League is trying to stop the NBA's European League. So the NBA is planning to start a league in Europe. 10 to 12 teams. Some of them might be existing teams over in Europe. Some would just be brand new teams that the NBA creates. They would not be competing in the NBA. This is not like, oh, they're adding 10 teams that would play in the NBA. This is just separate, their own league, their own thing over there. But the Euro League, which is the most prominent basketball league in Europe right now, sent a letter to the NBA, according to Front Office Sports, basically threatening legal action if the NBA tries to take any of its teams. Real Madrid has been one that's been reportedly talking to the NBA about joining the NBA's league. So I don't know what that would mean. I don't want to pretend like I know what would happen here, but I would guess the Euro League is not going to be able to stop the NBA from creating their own European league. I don't know if they'd be able to stop Real Madrid from joining, but I'm also going to guess they wouldn't. If Real Madrid wants to join it, they probably will end up joining it. And maybe there's some legal fee or settlement that gets paid out here, but I don't think this would stop it. And I've said this before, as it relates to us, I think the NBA is going to use European League in Europe as their next sort of expansion and not expand domestically. I think they're going to treat this as like, this is our baby for the next few years, and we'll get back to maybe Vegas and Seattle adding to 32 teams in the NBA. We'll do that later. That's what I think they're going to end up doing. I don't know if they want to do the European League and domestic expansion at the same time. Maybe they will, but I don't think they actually will do that. So probably waiting another 5 years, right? Also, though, did want to read this quote because Adam Silver said this to Front Office Sports. If we were to successfully launch the new league, it will take a while, I think, before it is a viable commercial enterprise. This is not for those who have a short-term perspective, which sounds like a bad thing, right? It's the commissioner saying, hey, we're going to start this league and we're going to lose money. But I read that not as, hey, we're going to lose money. I read that as Adam Silver saying, we're doing this. We're not going to make a bunch of money early on, but we are in the future, and we're going to stick to it because we believe in it. So I read that quote and was like, oh, that's him basically preparing everybody to be like, here's the talking point for you, right? We're going to do this. It's not going to make us a bunch of money right now, but we're going to do it. I think that means they're going to do it, and we're not going to get an expansion team here in Vegas or in Seattle in the near future. Everybody will be talking about it 5 years from now because that's what we've been doing this entire time. But this has been Bischoff's Briefs, brought to you by Battle Blast Las Vegas, the best laser tag in Vegas. Host your next birthday party at Battle Blast. You can book the party package and you'll get a private room. You'll get a dedicated party host, pizza, soda, arcade tokens, and obviously laser tag. And if you book it for your kid's birthday, you can also add on a game for adults so you can play some laser tag right after your kids do. Or just book it for your own birthday and don't worry about the kids. Battle Blast Las Vegas, located at 8125 West Sahara Avenue, your next stop for fun in Las Vegas. UNLV is going to play Memphis to start next season. And it's not often that a UNLV football schedule announcement has created some excitement, but this is genuinely an awesome game for UNLV to schedule. Memphis has a new head coach, new roster. They've got, it's 30, they might be close to 40 players out of the transfer portal. But presumably, Memphis is going to be one of the best teams in the American Athletic Conference next season. UNLV should be the best team in the Mountain West, which means we get, in the first game of the season for UNLV, a game with genuine college football playoff stakes, right? This is a real chance in week one to make a statement about your college football playoff status, your what you should be doing in the college football playoff. So this is awesome, right? Like, we're going to get a really important game to start the year. And I know I'm kind of discounting the new Pac-12, and if James Madison goes unbeaten in the Sun Belt, like, there are going to be other conference champions that are in the mix here. But what UNLV does next year and what the American champion does next year are going to have playoff implications. And there's a chance that the American and the UNLV, or excuse me, the Mountain West champion play each other in week 1. Like, that's tremendous. I am extremely excited about this. And UNLV also plays North Texas in week 2. Now, North Texas, like Memphis, was at the top of the American, had to have a bunch of new players, new coach, right? So how good are these teams actually going to be next year? We will see. But there is a legitimate chance the UNLV plays the 2 best teams in the American Athletic Conference to start the season. At the very least, it should probably be like 2 of the top 5, right? Maybe Tulane wins it again. I don't know, Navy, something like that. But there's a real chance UNLV plays 2 of the top 5. And here's why I think that's really, really important to UNLV football. The Mountain West next year is going to suck. The new Mountain West is not going to be a good conference. The strength of schedule is going to be bad. The opponents you play are not going to help you out. And there's a real chance in multiple years here that a Mountain West champion isn't really considered for the college football playoff because the American champion is 11-2. And even if you're 13-0, that might not be enough, right? They're probably for sure overlooking one loss, right? If Memphis is 12-1 and won the American and New Mexico's 11-2, they're probably taking Memphis. The same might be true for the Pac-12. Their champion might just always by default be ahead of the Mountain West champion. But UNLV is going to play 2 of the top teams, or what should be 2 of the top teams. If UNLV beats Memphis and beats North Texas, how can, at the end of the year, if UNLV wins the Mountain West, how can the committee say, well, the American champion is better? Even if it's not Memphis, let's say Tulane wins the American next year and they're 11-2 and UNLV is 11-2, right? Can the committee sit back and say, well, the American was much stronger than the Mountain West this year, so we're going to take the American champion over UNLV? UNLV beat Memphis and North Texas. If those teams finish like 2nd and 4th in the conference and UNLV beat them both, it seems like it would be a pretty strong argument for UNLV, and an even stronger argument if Memphis or North Texas goes and wins the American, right? Because that's really would be the goal here. If you're UNLV, you hope you beat Memphis and North Texas, and then those 2 teams play in the American championship game, because then you can very easily say, we beat them. Right? Like obviously if UNLV is like 8-4, they're not going to take you. But if UNLV gets to the end of the year and they're 10-2, they go and win the Mountain West Championship, they're 11-2, and North Texas and Memphis, one of them wins the American and is also 11-2, you can't take that team over UNLV. I don't even know if you can take 12. Can you take 12-1 Memphis over 11-2 UNLV if UNLV beat Memphis head to head? Right? Like, I know the other metrics will help determine that. But like this is huge opportunity-wise for UNLV when it comes to the playoffs, right? Like it really is. And I love that UNLV scheduled this game because you're getting that head-to-head chance. Same can be said for Memphis, by the way, right? If they beat UNLV and then we get to the end of the year, Memphis will be like, all right, UNLV won the Mountain West. Who cares? We beat them. So we're ahead of them. So I love this. And it's also... So it's hard to do because college football schedules, you schedule teams out pretty far in advance, right? This is a home and home with Memphis. The other game against Memphis is in 2029. So that game's already on the schedule. But UNLV did have an opening and they got Memphis. Can Group of 5 schools do this on a regular basis? Can they find enough openings to the year before or even just the year of? Schedule one of the other top or should be top Group of 5 teams, because we're probably going to see less Power 5 Group of 5 games or Power 4 Group of 6. I got to get those numbers right. We're probably going to see less of those games with the new scheduling requirements that the ACC has and some of these other conferences, 9 conference games for those schools as well. So the best way to sort of build a resume, but also go head to head with the teams you need to beat, is to play them. And so UNLV and Memphis play each other, right? 7 years from now, maybe New Mexico's like, oh, they're one of the best group of 5 programs or best group of 5 teams this year. I still can't do it. Group of 6 teams. And, so is, we'll just say James Madison. Do they have an opening to schedule each other to sort of go head to head? Like, I like that from both UNLV and Memphis in this case. Also for UNLV, their non-conference schedule. There is no FCS team. I thought the only open date was this season opener. I thought it was going to be an FCS. I thought it was going to be the school that you beat by 60. It's a free win. They went and got Memphis, which means their schedule is Memphis, at North Texas, at Akron, and Cal. Now, Akron's pretty bad. It is on the road, so maybe. We'll see. Akron's pretty bad. They probably should win that game. But the other 3, I mean, Memphis coming here, at North Texas, and Cal coming here. I don't know who's going to be favored in those games, but is anybody going to be favored by more than 3 points in those games? Probably not, at least preseason-wise. Probably not. So I guess, is Cal going to be better? To be honest, I haven't paid attention enough to what Cal's doing. Maybe there's a chance Cal's like, oh yeah, they're going to be the 5th best team in the ACC. They're going to be favored by 10. Maybe. But like, those are games, like they're losable games for UNLV, but they're also exciting games because if UNLV starts the year 4-0 and they beat Memphis, they beat North Texas, they beat Akron, and they beat Cal, I mean, the rest of the season, we're talking about college football playoff. I mean, to be honest, if they start the season 1-0, we're talking about it. And if they get off to 2-0 against North Texas, then it's real. Then it's like, yes, they can maybe afford a loss to Cal and maybe one Mountain West loss, and at 10-2 win the Mountain West, right? So like, these are fun games where like the stakes are gonna be there. Because the reality is, as a group of 5 program, how many losses can you afford? Not many teams are going to go undefeated, but if they do, you're kind of screwed. But not many teams are going to go undefeated, but can you afford more than 1? So, like, schedule's awesome from an excitement standpoint. Maybe it's dumb, though, right? Like, I'm glad they're doing it because I get to watch and talk about exciting games. And I'd much rather watch or talk about them playing this game than Northern Colorado or Jackson State or something like that, right? This is more fun. But I know they lost to Northern Colorado quite a while ago. But is it dumb? Like, from the power conference perspective, I think it's probably smart to schedule as easy as possible in your non-conference because you're going to be playing 9 conference games. Some of those conferences are requiring you to play another power conference in your non-conference. I would not want any interest in a Memphis if I was in a power conference. I would not want to play UNLV if I was in a power conference because they're good enough to beat you and you're not going to get any sort of respect for beating them. And you're already playing 9, maybe 10 other power conference teams. I don't want to play that game. I want the easiest schedule possible so that I can get to 11-1 or 12-0, whatever my record is, and say, hey, yeah, we're in a power conference. We went 12-0, we're 11-1. We're going to be in the playoff. I know BYU, that didn't work out very well for them, but you know what I'm saying, right? But for the group of 5, I don't like, here's the hypothetical, right? I went and looked up Wyoming's non-conference schedule. They play Colorado State, Northern Colorado, Central Michigan, and UConn. It's not the easiest schedule, right? They could have scheduled easier, but none of those are going to be like big wins. None of those are going to be marquee wins if Wyoming has them. So like if Wyoming were to go 13-0 this year and their best win was like UNLV, are they in the college football playoff just because they're 13-0? I'm not really sure how the committee would treat that. Like 13-0 Wyoming, if their strength of schedule is 115th, and you have 11-2 Memphis winning the American, whose strength of schedule is, 61. Does 13-0 automatically get you in? I kind of think it should. Like, there should probably be a carve out that says if you go undefeated, you're in the playoff. We don't care what conference you're in. But I don't know how. We don't know how the committee will evaluate that. So I don't know if it's smart for UNLV to do this because it does help you build a resume if you win the games. But what's a better resume? Like just the non-conference. Let's say they go 2-2. They beat Akron and they beat North Texas, or they beat Akron and they beat Memphis. They lose to North Texas and they lose to Cal. Let's say they're 2-2. Is that better for your resume than 4-0, where none of your wins are good? Where you beat like Akron, an FCS school, another crappy MAC school, and a Southern Miss, a Conference USA school. None of the wins are good. None of those teams are good, but you're 4-0. I don't know what the committee would value more. Part of me thinks it might be smarter to schedule the cupcakes and just win as many games as possible because we love to look at the record more than anything else, right? Boise State was not a consideration for the college football playoff last year. Why? Because what were they, 8-4 going into the conference title game? Whereas UNLV actually had a shot because they were 10-2. So part of me thinks you should schedule as easy as possible, but I'm glad they're not, right? You look at next season's schedule, it's at USC, Akron again, Arizona State, and at James Madison. We'll see how good JMU is, but Jesus, that's awesome. We're going to get two, I guess teams can back out, but we're probably going to get back-to-back awesome non-conference schedules. Hopefully UNLV is good and up to the challenge for all of it, but those are really good non-conference schedules if we're talking about a potential college football playoff run from these teams. So I love the schedule. Maybe it's not the smartest thing. I don't really know if it's not, but I love that they're doing it, and we should have some fun games. Now, couple of things here. First off, a plug to my Patreon. The RJ had a story on Hey Reb and UNLV fans wanting him back. I got a video up on my Patreon right now talking about that. So if you want to hear that and other bonus content, I've got a story, a written story up there, another video. We're going to have bonus content all the time at Patreon, so you can subscribe there. We've got a couple different tier options to go to, but check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/technicallycorrect with Tyler Bischoff if you want to watch that video talking about Hey Reb and the potential of bringing him back and everything that goes into your nickname, a mascot change, and all of that. I went to Ole Miss. They've done the same things as UNLV. It's very similar. But if you want to check that out on Patreon, head over to my Patreon and get subscribed. I'll appreciate it. Also on my Patreon, my highest tier of Patreon, I've got a special little perk for you. And that is once a month, you get to give me a topic to talk about. It can be just something you want to hear about. It can be, hey, I want to make Tyler say something stupid. My example I love to give is Bo Nix is the best quarterback in the NFL. Somebody's going to make me argue that one day. I don't think Bo Nix is very good. I think he's bad. But if you want to make me argue something that you know I disagree with, I'll do it. I'll look up the numbers and try to prove it for you, right? Whatever you want me to dig deep into, to do some research into, whatever it is, I will do that. That's one of the perks of the highest tier of Patreon. So if you want that, head over there. This is the first edition you're going to get of that. This is from Arnold. Hey, Arnold, thank you for subscribing to my Patreon. But Arnold really wants me to talk about UNLV Lady Rebels because they have a massive game on Saturday. They play San Diego State. Both teams are a perfect 7-0 at the top of the Mountain West this season. And if we look at recent history, UNLV had won 3 straight Mountain West tournament championships, but last year they got knocked off in the semifinals by San Diego State, who went on to win the Mountain West tournament. So you've got the last 4 Mountain West tournament champs playing against each other. Now, UNLV is at home. They're hosting San Diego State. Just one loss at home for UNLV this year, and it was to Baylor, who is currently ranked 18th in the country. UNLV actually led that game after 3 quarters. So they were in shape to get this marquee win, a win that really would have helped them when it comes to getting an at-large berth or just seeding in the NCAA tournament. But they blew it. They had an awful 4th quarter against Baylor. But that's the only team that's beaten UNLV at home this year. So San Diego State's going to try to do that on Saturday. For this game, you've got 2 teams that are allowing less than 60 points per game in conference play, but they're also the 2 highest scoring teams in Mountain West play. They're the 2 best teams in Mountain West play, so we'll see how that plays out. But the importance of the Mountain West and this game and everything is if you look at the NCAA tournament, which is the goal here, unfortunately for the Mountain West, the women's side, it's going to be another 1 bid season, right? If you look at the net right now, Colorado State is 71, then UNLV 84, then San Diego State 88. So these aren't even the top 2 teams in net because Colorado State is ahead of them. But none of those are worthy for at-large bids in the NCAA tournament, right? It's possible that if one of these teams starts blowing everybody out in conference play, and specifically the other 2 of the good 3, maybe you could climb up into the 50s and talk yourself into the bubble, but that's unlikely to happen. You're going to have to really beat these teams by a lot because they're really far back in net. And, beating Wyoming by 10 is not actually going to help you climb very much. You're going to have to beat them by 45. So these teams are unlikely to get an at-large spot, which means there's 1 bid. And if this is a 3-team conference, San Diego State, UNLV, and Colorado State, the likely outcome is they get the 1, 2, and 3 seeds in the Mountain West tournament, which means whoever gets the 1 seed only has to beat one of these top 3 to win the Mountain West title. The other 2 would, in theory, play in the semifinals against each other. So that's the importance of winning this game, is to get that 1 seed and give yourself the easiest path here to the Mountain West title and the NCAA tournament. A couple of the notes on this, just a fun fact for you. UNLV has the top 2 rebounders in the Mountain West in Shelby Brown and Meadow Rowland. Meadow Rowland also Mountain West Player of the Year type of campaign. She's at 14 points, 9 rebounds, also in the top 5 in blocks and steals per game in the Mountain West. So she's got a pretty well-rounded stat sheet that she is putting up there. So we'll see if Meadow Rowland can win Mountain West Player of the Year. If UNLV goes on and wins the conference and her numbers average a double-double, maybe she gets up to 16 and 10, that would be a pretty good argument for her to win Mountain West Player of the Year. Also unrelated, well, a little related, it's a home game. UNLV has the 3rd worst home attendance in the Mountain West. They're averaging 948 fans per game. New Mexico leads the conference with over 4,000, but only Air Force and San Jose State are under UNLV. Are these other programs really drawing in 2,000 fans per game and UNLV stuck under 1,000? Like, is that the reality for the other programs, that they are actually getting those numbers, or are those numbers inflated a little bit? I was surprised to see that. Not that, I'm aware of what UNLV women's basketball support looks like, but I'm surprised that it was that low compared to the rest of the Mountain West, because Colorado State women's basketball, Wyoming women's basketball, like they're getting good crowds out there, I guess, but it was a little surprising to see UNLV that low. Last thing I wanted to end on here for UNLV Lady Rebels is just to simply highlight Lindy LaRocque is on an incredible run. This is her 6th year at UNLV. The worst she's finished in the Mountain West is 2nd with a 13-5 record. That was her first season. And since then, they've won the regular season title 4 straight seasons. 3 tournament titles in there as well. They are in regular season play in the Mountain West, 86-11. 86-11 under Lindy LaRocque. And again, they've got postseason success because they've won the tournament 3 times. That is unbelievable. And a couple of things on that. First off, UNLV's kept her. She is not left for a bigger job, right? She's coaching at a school that's in a 1-bid conference and is just dominated. And she is not left for a bigger job yet. That is something UNLV should be trying to find coaching-wise for football and for basketball, because like Dan Mullen, for example, if UNLV goes 10-2 this year, it's probably leaving, right? Like, I mean, that would be a safe assumption that another school would try to hire him and give him a lot more money. There's no reason to think Dan Mullen's going to turn that down. But Lindy LaRocque has still been here. And if UNLV, like, that's kind of the key. Can you find your coach that's just going to stick there for a long time? Can you find your, like, Mark Few, where it's just like, yeah, he's going to be there until he retires for some reason and never take that bigger job, and sort of build you into a powerhouse where it's like, well, why would he leave? He's been there for 10 years and they're awesome. Can you find that in basketball and football? I don't know, but they've got it with Lindy LaRocque. Also, really the only thing that you could say is a letdown in Lindy LaRocque's career at UNLV, hasn't won an NCAA tournament game. It's 3 trips under Lindy LaRocque. To be fair, they were a 13 seed, then an 11 seed, then a 10 seed. They've never been the better seed in their matchup. They lost all 3 of those games, though. The loss to Creighton was probably the most disappointing because, again, that was a 10 versus 7. You could have easily won that game, but Creighton hit like 100 threes in that game, and UNLV was not winning. Their closest margin is actually when they were the 13 seed and they lost to Arizona. But this year's going to be hard because they're not as good metrics-wise as they have been when they went the other 3 years. And for example, last year, San Diego State got in and they got a 14 seed. So UNLV maybe gets a little bit more recognition from the committee, but they might be a 14 seed if they get into the NCAA tournament this season. So it's unlikely they do it this year. But LaRocque has been, I mean, this is a wild run for her to come in. UNLV basketball had been struggling. I mean, they were not terrible, but they weren't really anything special in the Mountain West. LaRocque comes in and they're the best program in the conference in her 2nd year and have basically stayed there the entire time. Incredible run by Lindy LaRocque. So Saturday, 2 p.m., UNLV's hosting San Diego State. Battle at the top of the Mountain West. Both teams are 7-0. If you want to subscribe to my Patreon, it's patreon.com/technicallycorrect with Tyler Bischoff. Thank you, Arnold, for your subscription and for the topic idea.